bizarre on-camera scenes in the Oval Office and an administration not without its share of bizarre on-camera scenes. Kanye West delivering a 10-minute impassioned soliloquy next to the President of the United States, right in front of the Resolute desk, touching on criminal justice reform, Kim Kardashian, who is his wife, and the powers he gets from his MAGA hat. He says it makes him feel like Superman. The Grammy Award-winning artist has become an ardent supporter and defender of President Trump. The meeting ended with a presidential hug of sorts. President Trump declared himself to be impressed. CNN's Kaitlan Collins is at the White House. And Kaitlan, you've covered President Trump on the campaign trail and since. Where does this rank in the weirdness scale?
It's definitely up there, especially for a White House like this that has surreal moments on a pretty much daily basis. This was one of the most surreal, Jake. Now, they hadn't even made it to lunch yet, which is what Kanye West was here for, and President Trump already seemed to be at a loss for words.
Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here.
That embrace coming after one of the most surreal days 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has ever witnessed. President Trump and Kanye West seated across from each other in the Oval Office.
You're in the Oval Office. How does it feel to be in the Oval Office?
Oh, it is good energy in this.
West, wearing the president's signature red Make America Great Again hat,
It made me feel like Superman.
was there to talk criminal justice reform, but went on a freewheeling performance in front of the cameras.
Trump is on his hero's journey right now, and he might not have expected to have a crazy motherfucker like Kanye West run up and support.
West praised Trump repeatedly.
If he don't look good, we don't look good. This is our president. He has to be the freshest, the flyest.
Lashed out at Democrats.
You know, people expect that if you're black, you have to be Democrat.
And pitched a replacement for Air Force One.
This right here is the I-Plane 1. It's a hydrogen-powered airplane.
The rapper, who once famously said President George W. Bush didn't care about black people, was asked if he feels the same way about Trump.
As black people, we have to take a responsibility for what we're doing. We kill each other more than police officers.
His monologue even seemed to put the president at a loss for words.
This was just set up to be a lunch.
Asked if he thought Kanye should run for president, Trump sounded encouraging,
Could very well be.
while West promised not to run against him.
Only after it will be 2024.
As major headlines flashed throughout the world, the stock market dipping, questions raised about the death of a Saudi journalist, and recovery underway in Florida, it was another day of reality television at the Trump White House.
I'll tell you what, that was pretty impressive. He can speak for me anytime he wants. He's been a great guy. He's a smart cookie.
Now, Jake, that meeting generated a lot of laughs and raised a lot of eyebrows, but the point of it is that the president has a really low approval rating when it comes to African Americans, and he thinks Kanye West can help improve that approval rating. Whether or not that's true, Jake, we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, Kaitlan Collins, thanks so much. Everyone, take a listen to how Kanye wrapped up his speech, pardon the pun.
What I need Saturday Night Live to improve on, and what I need the liberals to improve on is, if he don't look good, we don't look good. This is our president. He has to be the freshest, the flyest.
The basic argument here is that this is our president. We need to support him. Everybody needs to stop mocking him. Everyone needs to stop covering him critically, et cetera.
Well, that could have been a valid point had he not continued to then justify his support for all of Donald Trump's policies. There is a deep sense of betrayal among people who follow hip-hop and rap. Kanye was supposed to be this harbinger of conscious rap, and instead he's now caping at the White House for a president who is systematically denying black people the right to vote and purging voter rolls, and who stands as an ally to white supremacists by calling them very fine people. So this is not part and parcel with a lot of the policies that black communities or any minority community expects to hear from the White House, let alone somebody who's supposed to be a genius. And I say that John Legend probably said it best about this whole situation with Kanye, that artists can be great at developing and thinking new worlds, but they also have to acknowledge reality.
S.E. Cupp said something really interesting, Bill, after the meeting. I want you to take a listen.
I think you had there a man who's clearly not okay and a president who's willing to exploit that. and worse, to exploit that under the auspices of race relations.
Obviously, nobody wants to, and I don't think she was, belittle Kanye's mental health struggles, although he raised them in the Oval Office meeting. But what do you think of that, the idea that the president is taking advantage of somebody who is clearly, not 100% well right now?
Well, he's certainly taking advantage of him in the sense that he has them in the Oval Office, which is okay, I guess, and he's going to have lunch with them. And then all of a sudden, these cameras are here. I mean, why this did not... The president is able to meet with whoever he wants and can meet with a wide variety of people in the Oval Office. But yeah, once you put it on camera, you're making a public thing of it, and then you're sort of responsible
and
for...
Donald Trump is very artful about that, right? I mean, even in the campaign, he had Steve Harvey in for a private meeting, and oh, look, there happened to be cameras on his way out. And Steve Harvey then spent 3 days on radio apologizing to his people for effectively endorsing Donald Trump and his policies. And Kanye clearly likes the attention right now, and it was nice for a change to see Donald Trump have to listen to somebody else ramble in many different directions. We can only hope that he deletes his Twitter account just like Kanye did.
It is so interesting, though, when you look at the difference between the Kanye West visit to the White House and the Kim Kardashian West visit to the White House. Kanye's wife, when she showed up, she met with the president largely privately. There were pictures released after, but you didn't have this grand show that you saw today with Kanye West. And Kim Kardashian was actually able to get something substantive. She got the president to pardon Alice Marie Johnson, who is in prison for nonviolent drug crime, serving a life sentence. Kanye West's visit, however, was completely jumbled. There was no central theme to it. There was nothing that he was trying to accomplish as far as a mission. The stated goal was to talk about jobs in Chicago, criminal justice reform, but none of that was really the focus, and you don't get the sense coming out of this that there was actually anything substantive. And frankly, it just comes back to the idea that the president, at the end of the day, likes to promote people who like him. And that is what Kanye West has been over the last several months, particularly a black person who likes him. And so the president is willing to put that person on the
Same thing with Jim Brown from your home state of Ohio.
Yeah, Jim Brown. Where do I start? But I don't think celebrity endorsements really make much of a difference, with the exception of, I guess, Taylor Swift this week. A lot of people registered to vote as a result of what she said. That said, this is also a president in his former life who always really wanted to be accepted by the A-list and be accepted by other celebrities, and never was. So this is someone who is A-list, likes him, accepts him, wants to talk about him, and I think the president wants to show that off. Now, the real question is, how is this used in the future? Is he going to be at a campaign rally? I mean, really, I'm not really even joking. How much is the president going to have Kanye on board at this point in the campaign?
The notion, and what it does show, I think, is the notion that the chief of staff, John Kelly, has things under control. No one gets in the Oval Office without going through a proper screening and thinking through whether this is a good idea or not. I think that's kind of out the window.
Did you see Olivia Nuzzi's story in the Daily Beast?
Right.
No, New York Magazine. New York Magazine. I'm sorry. In which
she's an alumna, though.
She's an alumna. in which she talked about she was working on a story about chaos in the White House, about President Trump seeking people to replace John Kelly, and all of a sudden she's ushered into the White House and into the Oval Office. Yeah. And spends half an hour with President Trump, Vice President Pence, Secretary of State Pompeo, Chief of Staff Kelly, all of them trying to convince her not to write this story. That doesn't really sing, this is a White House that has its priorities straight. And Olivia's great, don't get me wrong, but why spend half an hour to try to kill a story about John Kelly not being chief of staff?
It seems to be the perfect encapsulation of where the president is right now. This week, we have seen him almost every single time that he has left the White House to board Marine One. All the reporters, we all gather to see the president. He doesn't always stop. This week, he has stopped every time but once. And he has had several rallies. He has done multiple interviews, local and national. He spent 45 minutes on Fox and Friends this morning. Clearly, we are seeing the president back in campaign mode, I think. And that includes not only the rallies, but these lengthy, rambling interviews that he has done. And so to see him in the Oval Office, of all places, bringing in Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, all of these folks, for the goal of one single story, shows that the president is once again focused on his image.
And if you look at the president 6 years ago, this time was lambasting President Obama for A, campaigning, and B, hanging out with, I guess it was Jay-Z, instead of paying attention to people hit by a hurricane or superstorm Sandy. Obviously, in the last day, the president has campaigned in Pennsylvania, and he's hanging out with Kanye. Not the same thing as Jay-Z, but I think the same kind of idea. A rare conversation with the First Lady, what she said about infidelity, distrust, and why she believes she